Okay, and this is a lesson on box and whisker plots, and your objective is right here is to figure out what is a box and whisker plot. Well, a box and whisker plot is something that's used to represent data so that you can see where most of the numbers land. Okay, so this is what a box and whisker plot looks like, and here's how it kind of works. Okay, in the very middle of the box and whisker plot right here, that is the median of the data. Okay, and the median is the 50th percentile of the data. Okay, so that means it's the middle. So 50% of our data is below this number, and 50% of our data is above this number. Okay, so half and half. It splits the data into half. So our median is 8 in this case, and that means that half the numbers in our set of data are above 8, and half of them are below 8. Okay, then we've got these two parts that are called quartiles, and one is the lower quartile, okay, and that is the 25th percentile of the data. And what that means is that 25% of the data is below this number. So our lower quartile is 6, and 25% of the data is below 6. And if 25% of the data is below 6, that means that 75% of the data is above 6, okay? Is higher than 6. And then up here, this is our upper quartile. Okay? And that is the 75th percentile of the data. Okay, what that means is 75% is lower than that number, which means that 25% of the data is higher. Okay, so that's in the upper part of our data. And then down here, we've got the minimum value, or the lowest value. Okay, and that is the 0 percentile, which means that 0% of the data is below this number, and that should make sense because it's the lowest number. Okay, so the minimum is the lowest, and then up here we have the maximum, and that is the 100th percentile. Okay, and that means that 100% of the numbers are at or below this. So again, it's because the highest number, everything is either included or below this. Okay, so again, lowest number is the minimum, and that means that 0% of the data is at or below it. Also means that 100% of the data is at or above it. So 100% of the data is this way. Okay, lower quartile, again 25th percentile, means 25% of the data is at or below this number. Median, 50th percentile, means 50% of the data is at or below that number, 8. The upper quartile, in this case, looks to be about 11. That means 75% of our data is at or below 11. And then our maximum is the 100th percentile, in this case 13. Okay, so again, we can read this, and it tells us a lot about the data. It tells us the lowest number, okay, it tells us what the median is, and it tells us kind of how our data is spread out. So it's pretty good visual to use for some data representation. Okay, now let's learn more about box and whisker plots. So here we're just reading a box and whisker plot. So number 1 says, what is the greatest value? Well, the greatest value is up here. That's the maximum, in this case 13. Okay, what percent of the data is above 6? Well, this 6 is the 25th percentile. Okay, so how much data is above that then? Okay, we want to know how much is this way. So to figure that out, we're going to take 100 minus 25, and that gives us 75%. Okay, what percent is below 8? Well, again, 8 is our 50th percentile. So that means that 50% is below 8. Okay, this says what percent lands between 6 and 11. Okay, well 6 is here at the 25th percentile. 11, that's our 75th percentile. So we want to know how many percent is between 11 and 6. So to do that, we're going to take 75% minus 25%, and that tells us the answer is 50%, is between 6 and 11. So half of our data falls between those two numbers. Okay, what is the median? Again, the median is this middle number in the box right here. It's always a number inside the box. Okay, the line inside the box is the median, so that is 8. And now the range. Okay, we should remember what range is. The range is the highest minus the lowest, or in other words, the maximum minus the minimum. Okay, so we're going to take the highest number, which in this case is 13, minus the lowest number, which is right here at 4, and that equals 9. Okay? And there's our answers to all the questions there. So now again, notice when I read for the range, when I looked at the highest number, it's not the highest number on my number line. It's where this dot is right here, and my dot is at about 13. Okay, same thing here. This upper quartile is 11. Okay, and we got 8 and 6, and the lowest number is 4. Alright, so let's continue on. We're going to learn how to actually make box and whisker plots when we're given the data. Okay, we've learned how to read them, now we're going to make them. Okay, before we do that, I want you to go ahead, this is a quick check. You are going to do this page on your own and fill those out, and I'm going to be looking at those when I look over your notes to see if we got them right. Okay, so now let's go on to making the box and whisker plots. Again, don't forget to fill this out on your own and have me check it when I check your notes. So now here's an example. We want to make a box and whisker plot, and this is our data right here. Okay, maybe this is the number of video games that certain people own or something of that sort. Okay, so this is the data, and our steps are over here. Okay, so the very first step that we need to do is to order the data from least to greatest, okay, from smallest to largest. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. My lowest number I see in my list is 2. So I'm going to cross it out and rewrite it down here. And then next I see 3. And then after that I've got 5. I should probably make that a definite 3. And then we've got a 6. And next I've got an 8. And then a 9. And I've got 2 12s. I need to make sure to write both of those down. And then a 13. Okay, now it is very important, on some of these examples you're going to have a lot of numbers, okay, that are going to be in your set of data. So it might take you a while to arrange them from least to greatest. It's very important that you do that, but it's also important to make sure after you've arranged them that you make sure you have the same numbers in your list, okay, as were up here. So up here I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. So down here I should have 9 numbers. So I need to count those to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we got the right amount of numbers here. Okay, after that, step 2 says to draw an ordinary number line that extends far enough in both directions to include all the numbers in your data. Okay, so it needs to extend from at least 2, our lowest number, to 13, our highest number. Okay, now that doesn't mean it has to start at 2 and stop at 13. Okay, you need to kind of count however these make sense. So I decided that to go from 2 to 13, it would make sense to count by 2s along my number line, so I didn't have to put a bunch of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and make all those marks and write all those numbers in. So I counted by 2s, and that's okay, and I think that's a good amount for how spread out our data is. But notice when I do that, that my number line goes from 2, our lowest number, to 14, which is higher than the number on our list. That is okay. Okay? And notice, my number line does not necessarily include the numbers in this list. I am counting by certain numbers, so I'm counting by 2s on my number line. Okay? And I'll show how to represent these numbers on my data here when I make the box and whisker plot. Okay, so step 3 is to find the median of the entire set. The median is, again, the middle number. Okay, so I want to find the middle number. Well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. That means that the median is my 5th number. Okay, so I'm going to find the median here, and I'm going to circle it in red, and that's right here at 8. Okay, that is the median of all of my numbers, because I've got 4 above it and 4 below it. Okay, now what I'm going to do when I find that median, and I'm just going to color code this to keep it consistent for you. You guys are obviously going to probably do this in a pencil or a pen, and that's okay. But I'm going to put a little line above my number line for my box. That represents my median, which was 8. Okay, then I'm going to find the median of the lower half. Okay, and the median of the lower half is going to be my lower quartile. Okay? So I'm going to look at the 5 numbers. I'm going to look at the median and below it. Okay, and I'm going to find the median of those 5 numbers. Well, the median is the middle number again, and that's going to be right here at 5. Okay, because there's 2 below it and 2 above it. Notice I included the median in that. Okay, so my median of the lower half is 5. And I'm going to go on my number line and put another up and down line like this one at 5. Okay, so I need to go right about in the middle of these, and I'm going to put a line right there. Okay, in about the same spot as the other one, because this is how I'm going to make my box. Okay, now I didn't do this the first time. I'm going to go ahead and do it now. I'm going to write the number I'm representing above each one of these. Okay, I want you to make sure you do that so that we know that if this is 5 or 4.5 or whatever it is in between here. Okay, then next we're going to find the median of the upper half. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do that in orange. Okay, and the median of the upper half is going to be the upper quartile. Okay. And again, that's the median of the upper half. So I'm going to look at the top 5 numbers, including the median, and find the middle number of those. Well, the middle number of these 5 numbers is 12. And I'm going to go ahead and again draw another line like this one up and down at 12. And 12 is right here. I'm going to put the number above it. Okay? Now what that makes is that's going to make my box. So I'm going to go ahead and outline that. That's the box part of my box and whisker plot. Okay, so we can see right here, here's the lower quartile, here's the median, and here's the upper quartile of my data. Okay, and the last steps are to plot the smallest and largest value. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that in this yellow color here. So my smallest and largest values are 2 and 13. Okay, and again, this is the minimum and the maximum. And the minimum is 2 and the maximum is 13. Now what I'm going to do with those ones is put a dot where they are on my number line. So 2, I'm going to go ahead and put a dot right here. And notice my dot is up here and kind of in the middle of my box. And the reason is because that's my whisker. Okay? I'm going to connect it to my box like that. So there's one whisker. And then 13. Well, 13 is here in the middle of 12 and 14. So I'm going to put that dot about right there and connect it to my box and write 13. And there's my box and whisker plot from the data I have. So again, just by looking at the box and whisker plot, I can tell where the median is, the lower quartile, the upper quartile, and the minimum and the maximum. Okay? So if I were to ask you how much of the data falls below the number 5, we could say that 25% of my data falls below 5, okay, because that's the lower quartile. If I said how much data is above 12, well, that's going to be 25% up here, because the 75th percentile, and I want to know how much is above it. And 100 minus 75 is 25. Okay? So that's kind of how we can make a box and whisker plot and use it to represent our data in a way that's a good visual representation. Okay? So let's go on and do a couple more things with these.